So this is my identity according to those who did artwork with the text we submitted. I'm very, very grateful to those who did this because I now changed everything I was going to say to give them this. I have three messages. Message number one, I don't create vulnerable people. We in the Boston area, we in the richer countries, are creating vulnerable people abroad. So message number one. Message number two, understand humanitarian. I would like you to understand the problems that my colleagues face within the Red Cross, Red Crescent Climate Center, and the larger Red Cross family, depending how you count 10 to 100 million people, mostly volunteers who are subsistence farmers, shantytown dwellers, fishermen, and so on, in 187 countries. And the third message is, what can art trigger? Can we work together to trigger stuff? So the world is in our hands. Science and technology, we learn a lot, we can do so much more. Thanks to 40 liters, one tank of a car, that has as much energy as a human being can produce in a lifetime. There's something good about fossil fuels. Let's not keep going the activist thing, go back to the caves. We won't. Fuel is good, energy is good. Now, what do we do with it? In addition to creating energy and using energy, when we hold the world in our hands, we're kind of squishing it, right? We are destroying the finely tuned, complex systems that run our planet and our lives. There's another hand that is very important, the invisible hand of markets, which allegedly creates an optimal allocation of resources. Now that is if you price everything correctly, but there's this thing called externalities where you may do something which is awesome for you and it has consequences that affect him negatively, right? So you do something, you hold the planet, if you're some big company or something, someone else suffers, that's trouble. Because of these two hands, doing what they intend to do but having some little side effects like changing the global climate, there's another hand, the hand I work with. The humanitarian hand, giving a hand to people who did not cause the problem, are not causing the problem, but are really, really suffering the consequences. Red Cross is best known for disaster response. Someone's hungry, we give food. Someone's sick, we provide treatment. Someone's homeless, we provide shelter, especially after disasters. There's so many more disasters, we can't keep up. We need to change the way we think. We need to anticipate what's likely to happen and reduce the loss before it happens. Otherwise, there's no way we can get enough hands, enough grain, enough fuel to transport tents and food and medicine to the places where people are suffering. It would be awesome to have the crystal ball that tells the future, especially if you're a humanitarian worker. You would know when to go and what to do there and then. For example, in the village of Xai-Xai in Mozambique, you can see a poster with this same photo up there. Two posters actually from this place. Those trees saved people because water would have put this entire stick underwater. 700 people were killed in the Limpopo River basin due to an entirely predictable flood that was unprecedented. The community had never experienced such thing because a tropical cyclone, a hurricane, went to a place where they don't usually go, dumped a ton of water. Limpopo River came with too much water, people died. So if you're the Red Cross, it's much easier to go ahead of time and say, you know what, water's coming, why don't we walk away, as opposed to having to go with a helicopter when people are struggling in the tree. This community was made famous by a birth that happened. A woman delivered her baby on a tree and a helicopter filmed it, if you remember that. Now this is what the future looks like in the crystal ball of science. Gradients of atmospheric pressure, probability distribution function of precipitation over time, all sorts of things that I kind of understand. But when you show that to a Red Cross worker, or to a subsistence farmer, or to almost any human being, you could as well be showing this. It doesn't make any sense. And I think we know by now that scientists are not the best at telling the story. We are good at learning what's going on. Telling is not what we're good at. There's journalists, there's artists who can do a better job, but how do we do that job? So what I have started doing is to evolve from math geek and scientist to humanitarian worker to explorer of designed processes to help people learn from each other and learn with what is known. So this is one example from Malawi. Another thing about this community in Malawi and the one in Mozambique that I showed. $39 cost this. That's the money that one household has available for a month. So whoever bought this, thank you, Vivian, but this could have bought food for a household for a month. And 39 is the life expectancy in that district where I work. So most of us would be dead right now. Okay? So when I talk about creating vulnerable people abroad, what we're doing is we're robbing them of the knowledge that they have about the timing of rains. They know, based on past experience, that rains tend to arrive between 10 and 30 of October. And that's, you plant based on that. Now the rains are crazy. They don't know when to plant. When they plant, it often leads to crop failure. They're hungry. They have to migrate. They go to new places. So what are we doing? We're first teaching them how the climate is changing, and then bringing artists. This is a Brazilian former CNN executive turned Buddhist and master student who is teaching a Red Cross volunteer from the city of Mfunga how to use a video camera. Turn on and off, zoom in and out, start recording, stop recording. They made their own video about how they observed the climate changing, what they're doing about it. My favorite story, which they learned from me, from a woman that told the story in Bangladesh, they have chickens. The chickens drown when there's a flood. What are they doing? They're getting ducks. The chicken drowns, the duck floats. Bring this problem to Boston University or any academic organization, we come up with mathematical models of chicken flotation, high-tech devices with fancy materials and so on. Local knowledge works. What's going on now is that when they filmed this, we showed the video in neighboring villages. The Red Cross took the video made by farmers in their own language, Chichewa. I can't understand the word. But these fellows who saw the video not only understand how the climate is changing, it's not their fault, it's not God punishing them. They understand that there are some things you can do, including buying ducks from the neighbors. So now those guys are making money in the process through invisible hand of market, helping others adapt. All the Red Cross is doing is sharing the knowledge through an art piece created by illiterate subsistence farmers. How to communicate climate risks. This is like you have a Central Park or here at the Common, there's always a little lake. That we are building is the Planetarium of Buenos Aires, iconic building. Now, what we did with the Red Cross right after a big flood that happened in the north, no one was paying attention to it, was to work with artists and designers and permission from the local authorities to build a shantytown home inside the pond. So it looks like the flood reached the capital city. And there was a sign that says the north of the country needs your help. And you can't imagine how much response we got. Not only in terms of donations, but also in terms of medical teams donating their time to help. This is art becoming humanitarian work because of climate crisis. And this is my favorite story. You heard me yesterday mention games. We have a project in Ethiopia and in Malawi that is about insurance. Index-based microinsurance. Designed for farmers who are not only illiterate but also illiterate. Now I went twice to explain insurance to a community that doesn't have the word insurance in their language. Tigrinya and Chichewa. And of course I put them to sleep. Anyone talking insurance would put the people to sleep. So the third trip, I improvised a game with stones where you win or lose. They totally got it. Next time, I designed a game that was exactly like a mimic, a representation, a system dynamic model of the thing we were proposing. You pay money sometimes, you get a lot of money when there's a disaster. There's a die, roll the die, 1 in 6, there's a drought. When it happens, you get a payout if you invested in it. So you see the sequence, explain the rules, people make a choice. Do you invest in insurance or not? Then there's a roll of the die, and depending on your decisions and the rains, there's outcomes, good or bad. They totally got it to the point that they proposed innovations, the 2 best innovations that I know of in microinsurance sector came up from this. They said, I don't have money, can I pay with labor? Awesome. So now we're investing in building irrigation and soil preservation and other things, and that labor is monetized. An external donor pays for that. And that money, instead of going to them as cash, it goes to pay an insurance premium. And next time there's a drought, my colleagues in Ethiopia don't have to rumble for food because the insurance company brings money to an illiterate farmer that designed an insurance scheme thanks to a game. Now, I dare call this game a work of design. I don't dare call it a work of art because you're going to see how bad I am designing clouds and sun. But I hope to be able to work with you guys. Last slide. Can we bring brain power and talent from Boston to the rest of the world where we continue to create vulnerable people? I hope the answer is yes. We can improve how we communicate the issue. It's not just about the science, it's about the emotional side of things, including advocacy. We can formulate new initiatives that have to do with getting the message across, and not just the message for the sake of the message so that people make better decisions so that it leads to better outcomes. You can help us learn from what we do. I run a program that has recruited over 60 students so that they do what they have to do anyways, dissertation, thesis, internship, and so on, in ways that help us. Even the artists have helped us see things that we were not seeing, analytically rigorous stuff. And the final one, we want to nurture a new generation of practitioners. We need more brain power and talent linking knowledge, including science, with humanitarian work like the Red Cross. Thank you very much, and that's my engagement.